Today on episode 9 of the Sean and Bo Show. U.S. plays Belgium in an elimination game, the World Cup, and all of a sudden Americans are rabid soccer fans?
And with LeBron James testing the waters of free agency, Heat fans are going crazy.
Plus, the NFL cheerleaders think about unionizing, and Bo and I have our picket signs and megaphone ready. We're here to lend support. It's the Sean and Bo Show. Everybody, it is the Sean and Bo Show. Welcome to episode 9 of the show. Thank you for telling a friend, a coworker, your children, maybe a neighbor about the show. We depend on you for support and growing the show, so thank you in your efforts towards that. Now, of course, the World Cup's going on, and you know that FIFA, Bo, is just crossing their fingers. Please let the United States win. Please let all of these people interested in soccer in North America,
gosh.
you get to keep watching and watch it on TV and supporting all of these advertisers. You know that they want the United States in as long as possible.
Yeah, they were probably tripping out the servers associated with everything USA Soccer and the computer systems that probably take care of the PayPal accounts that, you know, take the money for the jerseys probably lost their mind. Even my URL, Sean, was going across that website. I was like, man, is it too early to throw on a USA Soccer jersey? We're Americans. It's the right thing to do. I'm a front runner.
I went to the gas station the other day to pick up some beer after work, and they had this Gatorade display, and it was this deal where if you bought 2 Gatorades, you could get a Team USA towel or a Gatorade water bottle that had the logo on it. So I got my nephew, who's real into soccer, a towel. Went back there the next day, totally sold out. So that shows you right there that. And you know, we were talking about how Americans are such good front runners.
Yes, we are.
And here's some statistical analysis, Bo, to back up that claim. Now, in the current World Cup, the number one highest attending country actually going to the games is Brazil, obviously.
Okay.
Number 2, United States.
There you go.
And that follows a pattern because the most attended World Cup in the history of the World Cup was in 1994 when the United States hosted it. According to the Wikipedia page, during that World Cup, the average attendance of each game was 69,000 and 3.6 million for the final tournament.
Goodness.
So that just shows you, even though soccer is obviously not that big here, you know, MLS games aren't constantly selling out or anything like that. It just goes to show you when we can be front runners, we will.
Oh, yeah.
We will get on that bandwagon and ride it towards the sunset, baby.
And it's unique because it's like the first time as an American where we don't feel bad about beating up on them because they had this first. The rest of the world got to excel at good old football before we got a taste of it. Now, with track and field, we've been whooping tail since Jesse Owens. That's
right.
Nothing new.
Take that, Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler, check him out. My man's running on an old pair of shoes on some ash and cinder, and he's still running 12-second 100 meters. That's beautiful. But anyway, it's one of those things, Sean, where we need to be excited because the world is going to have to watch us build. We're going to grow, and we're going to leave them in the dust. I guarantee right now, somewhere in America, in an inner city, let's say Cleveland, near an old abandoned factory with the windows shattered out, there's a bunch of kids who were probably playing basketball or football 3 months ago. But because of all this USA Soccer hype, they got an old soccer ball, and they're trying to imitate moves that they see on TV. That's how it happens, ladies and gentlemen. All it takes is one of those kids in Akron, Ohio, maybe a LeBron James, that was going to play basketball at Ohio State. He says, you know what? I'm pretty good at rifling this ball in the net. And the next thing you know, we get world-class soccer players coming out of America.
It'll happen. You know, I think as we see the current generation of kids, you know, young teenagers, 12-year-olds, that age group, as they get older, I think you're going to see people watching more soccer in this country.
And they have kids.
Yeah.
You know, you got all these kids in these youth programs. They're going to have families one day. They're going to say, hey, Billy, hey, Susie, this guy in the Premier League, greatest athlete in the world. I'm still of the old school where I'm telling my kids, you know, greatest athlete of the world's a tight end or a point guard. Well, that's going to change in 20 years. And when it does, watch out because we are still the land of the free, home of the brave, and we love to kick butt. So it's going to happen.
One of the funnier stories out of the World Cup was Suarez, Bo. He was the guy that decided it'd be a good defensive play to bite an opponent in the shoulder, and it was like the third time he's done this. Well, days after that whole incident went down, he took to Twitter and issued the following statement. He said, quote, "After several days of being home with my family, I've had the opportunity to regain my calm and reflect about the reality of what happened during the Italy-Uruguay match on 24th June. Independent from the fallout and the contradicting declarations that have surfaced during these past days, all of which have been without the intention of interfering with the good performance of my national team, the truth is that my colleague Giorgio Chiellini or something, suffered the physical results of a bite in the collision he suffered with me." And by the way, don't you just love the way he phrased it?
Yeah, like you've seen the videos, right?
A bite happened. Who's to say? Anyway, he went on. He said, "For this, I deeply regret what occurred. I apologize to Kaleni and the entire football family, and I vow to the public that there will never again be another incident like this."
You know, hey, Sean, I never thought it would come to this in my life. I'm going to utter this phrase. It's going to be recorded. They could have took a page from the Mike Tyson camp. And you handle a biting incident that's been filmed, and the whole world's been watching these pictures of you, like his teeth were latched on like a pit bull attacking someone. It was amazing to say that was an accident.
His response was so great. He's just like grasping his mouth. Like, did you see that guy? He ran into my teeth with his shoulder. Somebody issue a red card.
Oh, my goodness. Come on, buddy. I don't even know who you are, and I don't like you anymore.
And for his part, and this is a real classy move, whether or not he meant it, which I kind of have my doubts, Chiellini said that, quote, on Twitter in response to this, he said, "It's all forgotten. I hope FIFA will reduce your suspension." So that's a class move. And we talked about that last week. That's one of the things I really do like about soccer, particularly in the World Cup, is that you just see great sportsmanship.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to put up with some flopping, like what absolutely cost Mexico their elimination game. But you at least do get some good sportsmanship out of it, and that's cool to see.
Yeah, I've often wondered what it's like to be an American soccer player because, you really can't take out what goes on in the real world. We live over here in our nice suburban lifestyles, far away from the gunshots of the Middle East and these war-torn countries. But could you imagine playing the USA team knowing that just a few years ago, them dudes were flying drones in your neighborhood? I'd be real polite to them too. I'd be like, "Hey, sir, you enjoy your stay here? I hope you guys really like our country. Don't come back and bomb us, please." I've often wondered what kind of respect comes with being a USA soccer player.
Yeah, we do have the guns. What's that old saying? A well-armed society is a polite society. Kind of goes for the international community. With United States.
They probably give out a pamphlet before the World Cup on the etiquette on how to treat the Americans.
Do not look them directly into the eye.
No.
Do not eat French toast in front of the Americans. All right, well, before we get to some of the other stories that we have, including the cheerleaders of the NFL possibly unionizing, follow up on a story we talked about a few episodes back with the NCAA and the questionable academic standards of UNC, University of North Carolina. So, Bo, what was the deal with this? They reopened the investigation?
Yeah, there was an investigation a few years back. If you kind of remember, it got closed. Basically, you remember the famed North Carolina finally had a good football team, and they were picked in like the top 10 in the BCS and all that good mess, and they came into the season and lost half of their players on the football team because of academic fraud. Well, they did their own investigation, and so that allowed them to kind of escape what the NCAA was going to hand down. And then you'll remember a few episodes back, we were talking about Mr. McCants, who was on the 05 national championship team, doing an article where he was talking about how he was given these classes where you just show up and you get an A. And, Roy Williams obviously is deny, but let's go beyond the investigation because this stuff is going to take time. They got to hash it out in court. We can't even sit here and pretend that the NCAA doesn't have bigger fish to fry with what's going on with the O'Bannon lawsuit. Watch out, Roy Williams. This is just how a career gets tarnished. This man has done nothing but good things. I'm not going to sit here and bash Roy Williams. But when this happens, if it comes out that this is true, because according to Grantland, there's 5 other players that are ready to testify that they were given the show-up classes too. That sounds like a settle out of court, take the NCAA suspension to me, doesn't it to you?
Yeah, probably.
It sounds like Roy Williams, take your payout and retire. It's a sad day for him. It's a sad day for people who like college basketball. I don't want to see Roy Williams go out like this. Quite frankly, I would not be mad if he did get fired. He goes to the mountains for a couple years and he comes to New Mexico. We'll take you, baby.
Oh, yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Roy Williams leads the Lobos. I can't wait.
Let's just hope they increase the academic standards on those underwater basket weaving courses that those athletes are taking, Bo. I know you struggled with yours, but you did pass them.
I did pass them. I really had to focus and turn the pressure down on my snorkel. That was my problem. But,
Priorities, Bo.
Priorities.
Yeah.
But, this is one of those deals where we got to say, if these kids don't come forward, we all just move on throughout our daily lives and we don't even know this is going on. So how many guys along the way, University of Kentucky's, USC, Alabama, Florida State, have paid these guys? These guys got the good job. They started making $175,000 a year, and they didn't want to go back to the university and complain. I don't know what's going on in Mr. McCant's life. I don't know what's going on in the other 5 guys' lives, but I've often said this is exactly why you can't do pay for play in college. Because if you get some kid used to making $45,000 a year in college to do nothing but play basketball, he gets out and realizes he's only going to make 36 and change, and he really has to work for it 12 hours a day. You got a spoiled brat in your hands, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to find the first reporter. And this guy, McCants, I guess he's still living around Chapel Hill. He didn't have to go that far. This is all being orchestrated by the local newspaper there. It's like the Chapel Hill Herald. They're doing this whole investigation. They have the 5 players. I'm thinking to myself, the university knew about this. Because if a local beat reporter is pulling this crap out of the air in Chapel Hill, you've lived in a small community like that. You've been around small universities.
By the time it makes it to the news, everybody in the community already knows about it. They're already
Jerry
talking
Sandusky.
about it at church, at the water cooler.
Yeah, it's not. And so, if this is the norm in Chapel Hill, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Gainesville, Florida, Tucson, Arizona, just to name some organizations with some big money, and they have big boosters, and they're in the size towns where these stories take a while to develop. I know they're paying these players. Look at these universities. Alabama getting top 12 players off of rivals every year. I bet if you went right now to a practice, there's probably 5 2014 cars sitting out there to a bunch of college kids who didn't apparently pay taxes because they didn't earn money the year before.
Oh, their parents have money.
Yeah,
right?
Mom and dad are rich. Come on.
Okay, where the hell is LeBron James going to end up? Plus, are NFL teams going to pony up and pay cheerleaders a little bit more? Are they going to be forced to unionize? It's coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. Have you heard all the episodes? Have you missed any? Well, luckily for you, you can catch all the previous episodes online at seanandboshow.podomatic.com. That's seanandboshow.podomatic.com. And since this is a podcast, something near and dear to our hearts is the lawsuit that is currently going on between Adam Carolla and patent trolls. Adam Carolla getting sued because of a patent troll who claims he owns the patent to podcasts. Ridiculous. And this is a big legal battle. Adam Carolla needs your help, and he's asking all podcasters to tell their audiences about his situation. So we would like you to go to fundanything.com/patent troll. Contribute whatever you can. If it's a couple bucks, that's great. It doesn't matter, but these patent trolls cannot win, because after they get done with Carolla, if they win, it's going to be the next podcast and the next podcast, and they're going to fall like dominoes. So very important. That's fundanything.com/patent troll. Back to the show.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. I want to thank all you loyal listeners out there. I'm going to get this thing started. Sean was talking about NFL cheerleaders when we started the show off, and I love me some NFL cheerleaders, Sean. I really, really care deep, deep down in the soul. So lay this on me. What's going on?
I like to tell people what we are champions of the cheerleading profession. Industry.
Yeah.
We want what's best for these hardworking young ladies, and that's why I'm very pleased to tell you, Bo, that they might be close to forming unions, cheerleading unions. Now, this was featured on the HBO show Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel.
Okay.
They're basically laying the groundwork for this to happen. And the real discussion, the debate about this centers around whether or not A, they should get paid, B, if the contracts are fair, and C, the legality of these contracts that NFL teams have with cheerleaders. Okay. During this piece with Andrea Kramer, she spoke to a former Raiderette that was discussing these contracts that they make them sign, basically making them glorified interns. And, some people say, well, if you don't want to do it, don't sign the contract.
That's silly.
And she had this to say. Does the contract make it right? Tons of people would love to be a reporter, for example. Does that mean you don't deserve to be paid for your talent, for your time, for your hard work? And, this is the rationale that the teams use is that, well, if you become a cheerleader, you'll have all of these great opportunities. You'll get to do these exotic calendar shoots, et cetera. And because so many young ladies, would love to do that, they can afford to basically pay these women peanuts.
Yeah, and you remember if you listen to the show, which I know you do, earlier we talked about an incident where I ran into an NFL cheerleader back in Indiana, and she was bagging groceries at a local grocery store. So obviously not everybody has a chance to get these calendars and these exclusive photo shoots if you're a cheerleader for the Cleveland Browns, So this is good, and it's amazing to me how whenever a story like this comes up, regardless of the industry, there's always the Kool-Aid drinkers. You're like, who are these people that are just willing to tell someone, oh, if you love that so much, just do it for free? Man, if everybody did everything for free, there would still be a lot of slavery going on.
So some progress, if you'd like to call it that.
Yeah.
This story aired last week on Real Sports.
Okay.
Today, the Raiderettes announced that they are going to get paid for the first time minimum wage. That's
minimum wage.
$9 an hour for the Raiderettes this
$1 billion industry.
So this is my take on it, though. You do one of two things. You pay them a fair wage, or you eliminate cheerleaders.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
And some, what is it, the Giants don't have cheerleaders. I don't think the Packers do either.
Yeah.
So there might be another team in there. As much as I don't want to say this, I'll say it. Cheerleaders really don't add too much to a professional football game. I mean, in college, yeah, that's cool. You have the band, you have the cheerleaders as part of the whole experience. But really, if you aren't going to pay these people, just get rid of them, Quit wasting people's time. And I think that's the mandate the NFL should come down with. They should either institute some sort of league-wide minimum salary for cheerleaders, or they should just say, if you're not going to do that, then you can't have them. One of the two.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. It's like cheerleaders love football players, and football players love cheerleaders.
Hey, football players are not the only ones that love cheerleaders, Bo.
But when you start taking them away, I can only imagine, gosh, that was so nice to just be out there and see them.
Okay, but that's the thing. Okay, high school on a high school football team. That's a really cool thing. You got your cheerleaders, you got your band, you got your players. Yeah. Moving on to the collegiate level, everyone's skills improve, and then once you get to the professional level, if you're a professional athlete, you're getting paid to be a professional athlete. If you're a professional cheerleader, you're not getting paid to be a professional. Yeah. So it's like either have some sort of tiered system where you're actually rewarding these people for following through and the dance profession and the cheerleading industry.
It is a profession. It is.
Or get rid of it. I mean,
And we can't be that unfair. We just can't be that
Where's
unfair.
Where's the fairness?
Yeah, we can't be that unfair to these ladies because they were a part of Showtime. They were a part of building this what it is. I mean, NFL Films has done plenty of videos featuring the cheerleaders and what they've brought into the league. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's something we need to distance ourselves from because, here we are. What were we talking about last week? Washington Redskins, the name change. We're going to watch the cheerleaders be kicked out before they even change the name to the Redskins. We could probably see that happen. We'll probably see, half the NFL teams change their mind on that before the Redskins do a name change.
If only there was some sort of club that could employ these professional dancers later in life. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be crazy? If there were little establishments, maybe they served alcohol and you.
What are those called?
I don't know.
What could you call it?
I don't know, man. But this is going to kind of be a short episode. We got a lot of NBA stories to get to, so we'll move on from there. You'll remember back during the NBA playoffs, Bo, one of my favorite players was Gortat.
Yes.
You remember that dude? I think
Shouts 300 quotes. Yeah.
He kind of looks like a James Bond villain. Well, he's living up to the nickname that I gave him of a James Bond villain because he showed up to his basketball camp in Poland. He's known as the Polish Hammer. He showed up to his basketball camp in a armored Jeep, sitting on top of the gun turret, which was an auto 50 cal.
Oh, nice.
That's how you make an entrance.
There you go. That's a way to send a message to the kids, and I love it.
This is Sparta.
Kids, basketball is a physical game, and every once in a while there may be gunfire. How did that intro go to that camp?
Well, it's a good move because he's not currently signed, so he's showing these teams he means business.
Oh yeah, and then there's probably a ton of European teams lined up that'll pay him good money. So not a bad move for Mr. Gortat, and those kids will probably remember that frightening experience for the rest of their lives.
The rest of the news around the NBA really centers around trade talks. Now, last week we had Mr. James, the King, opt out of the final deal and kind of test the water of free agency. And people were wondering, well, does he want max money? Is this a money move? Is he willing to take less money, restructure his deal, and bring in another player to make it the big four? What was happening? Well, we've kind of thrown more fuel on that fire because now Bosch and Wade want to restructure their deals.
Yeah.
And now the news coming from ESPN is that LeBron, in fact, does want to get paid. He wants the max contract.
Money.
So really, if he stays, you're probably going to see Bosch and Wade take a pay cut. Maybe Wade won't be able to afford that premium walker that he's going to need in about 2 years from now. So people are scrambling, trying to figure out what's going to happen with LeBron. And if you really look at it, there's only 7 teams right now without making some moves, without trading away some of their star talent that can afford him. 7 teams in the NBA. They are, the Heat, Mavs, Lakers, Suns, Jazz, Sixers, and Magic. Those are the teams that have the cap space to offer a deal starting at a minimum of $20.7 million.
Yeah. Yep.
There's other teams that might be in the mix, like the Bulls, but they would have to move some pieces. They would have to restructure deals. They'd have to make trades. So those are the teams that would probably be easiest for LeBron to make the transition towards. Do you think he's going to leave the Heat? Where do you see this going?
I hear Suns want to make a ploy to get him. You're going to see these deals come into LeBron left and right here in the next few days. But ultimately, I think he ends up back in Miami. He has, really built something there. His legacy is going to be there. Where is he going to go at this stage in his career? Are you just going to fly out to the desert of Phoenix? You're going to end up being a Texan. You and Tony Romo and J.C. Winton going to be hanging out. Come on. He is a Miami boy. He has been there ever since he left Cleveland. It's a fit. You're used to seeing him in the uniform. I think in these conversations, things that we don't think about, Sean, the everyday guy that goes on, the marketing. You got to think about marketing. He has been burnt in our brains, this image of him in either a black jersey, a white jersey, or a red jersey. For him to change at this stage in his career, can he climb back? They do ratings on these guys about how their popularity goes.
Right.
There's somebody sitting in there with a very cool computer program showing him, you may make max money from the NBA, but if you make this leap over here, will you still be getting the endorsements? Are you still going to be able to sell Samsung phones?
Yes, he will.
You think so?
I think LeBron is so much of a brand that he transcends that media market size
Maybe
thing.
He can.
I don't think it matters. I think he's still going to be in shoe commercials and Powerade commercials and phone commercials with videos of his kids. I mean, I don't think it matters as far as that goes. I think the reason why he went to Miami in the first place is because players didn't want to live in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think it matters more to the tertiary group of players that surround LeBron. It might not make a big deal for LeBron what media size he's in, but for those players that are going to join him, how nice of a city is it? How much money can you make off these deals? I think that it's more of a factor for the other.
And then what about taxes, man? I could never leave Florida. Goodness. You're going to tell me you go to Florida, make all those millions of dollars, don't pay that state income tax, and you do not think about it? that'd be on my brain. I don't. Maybe I'm just a greedy little guy over here, but golly, the difference between paying $11 million state income tax and paying $0 state income tax, that has to weigh on your mind too. So I just think Florida. He's in Florida. He's in Miami to stay.
Texas doesn't either, do they?
Yeah, Texas, you're right, man. You are right about that. So that's why Dirk was handing out the keys of the city. Along the same lines, I was telling you about this before the show. I really can't get over the mothership going after Derrick Rose. You heard reports starting to come out about, oh, is Derrick Rose not actively recruiting enough to get Melo or LeBron to come check out his city? Why does he have to recruit when you guys were mad at how the big three recruited they got LeBron down there, with D Wade going out there and posting pictures on Instagram and everything about them eating dinner together.
Doesn't matter. I mean, whether they're doing it out in the open or not, these players talk to each other.
It's silly, man.
You know that they're doing that.
Yeah, they're friends, they're colleagues. If guys who work in the same factory talk to each other, I would imagine guys who play in the NBA communicate.
Particularly when these players have been on these AIU teams. They've known each other since they were 15 years old. I mean, they've practically been playing on the same team just by virtue of how long they've known each other.
Yeah.
And
why would you respect? They wouldn't respect a guy who jumps out of his character just because it's Derrick Rose is a quiet individual. He keeps himself. From what I hear, Joakim Noah is the guy who takes that torch when it comes to being vocal. Let Joakim Noah be the captain, be the guy who goes out and does the recruiting. Get off of Derrick Rose. Get off of a Dirk Nowitzki, who I think looks so uncomfortable when he's putting that line. You see him on like the Jimmy Fallon show, and then he did the deal where he's giving the key to the city to Melo. He looks so uncomfortable when he does that stuff. I would rather him just stay at home than sit up there looking like he just took an acting class and learned how to get in front of a camera yesterday.
And he doesn't even have a knife collection like Tim Duncan, man.
Tim Duncan, man, how would that conversation go? You want to play with my knives? That'd be hilarious.
The other big news in the NBA, people are not too happy with Jason Kidd right now. Have you been following this saga? He's going to coach the Bucks.
Yeah, and did you hear that the Nets are reportedly going to lose $140+ million on the whole Jason Kidd acquisition, the losses? They were going to build this new practice facility that they were clamoring for. $140 million shortfall there, and I'm going to skip town.
Everybody's blaming Jason Kidd, though. I think this is kind of the price you pay when you hire a player to be your coach. You don't know what they're going to do. The younger the coach, the more unpredictable they're going to be.
But he did the power grab. Did you hear about that? Where he was like, I want to be the general manager. I don't know if he necessarily want to be the general manager, but he was trying to grab power within the organization. And you're only there a year. What'd you win, 40 games? Did they win 40 games? I think they only won 40 games, man. They didn't do too hot.
They didn't do too good.
And you're already in the offseason. It'd be the equivalent to a new cabinet member coming into the White House. 6 months later, he's on CNN telling everybody about, hey, I'm done with this shit. I'm running for president. I'll see you in about 2 years. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to be the man and then get to just be the man because you say so, Jason Kidd. You did this when you were a player. You did it to your wife with your hands, and now you've done it to the Nets, an organization who you were the second best player of all time. You were second to Dr. J in a lot of categories. You were going to be remembered. Your banner was going to be up there. Your pictures were going to be around the building. And what'd you do? You crapped on them, man. It's not cool. I don't respect people who do things like that because that was an opportunity. Fisher, family man, he loved in Salt Lake, loved in L.A., he's not going to do that to Phil Jackson. He won't be trying to power grab after season one, talking about, hey, Phil, I know you won 7 championships and you've been doing this for a little bit, but I'm ready to take the draft picks on. Just step off to the side and let me make all the decisions, man. Jason Kidd, get over yourself.
I just hope LeBron leaves. Those Miami Heat fans deserve it, really. Nothing would please me more.
Where does he go, though, Sean? Where do you think he goes?
I just don't know, man. Where Carmelo goes is gonna who goes where first is I think gonna play into this as well. Like if I don't know if Carmelo goes to the Bulls, I think LeBron more likely to stay. Mm-hmm. There's a few different scenarios I could see. I mean, I don't know where he would go. Maybe the Suns. They seem like the most super interested. Maybe the Lakers, although I don't see him playing with Kobe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Heat fans, you deserve nothing but the worst. And that'll do it for this episode of our totally unbiased podcast. Fight the power, NFL cheerleaders. Tip your pizza man. We will catch you next week.
See you next week.